Okay, am I recording? I think so. This is a video about making a scenario analysis. It's the very first video on it. And this is a very simple case. But what we might want to do is the following. We might want to examine what happens to our IRR and our risk premium and all these statistics if we start changing the growth rate, the exit multiple, the holding period, and perhaps even the risk-free rate. So instead of when we had the two-way data tables somewhere here, I guess they're here. These are the two-way data tables, or the one-way data tables with multiple different outputs. What we want to do is include multiple different inputs for perhaps the growth rate, the exit multiple, the holding period, and the risk-free rate. And then we want to also, next door to that, look at some of the output variables, which may be the IRR, the premium, and the MIRR, and value to cost. So we want to look, instead of the two input variables, we want to look at more input variables and at the same time more output variables. Now to do this, we just need to use two things, an index and a data table. We have to use those together. Okay, and here's how easy it is. Let's say we put a base case in, a low case, and a high case. And let's just enter some of the data. That's going to be the easiest part. Now, and if we put for the growth rates, let's put a 5% and 2% and 10%. Ooh, that's pretty big. And for the exit multiple, we'll make the base case. How about 7 times? The low case have 5 times, and the high case have 10 times. And the holding period, it's a base case, let's say it's 7 years. In a low case, if we're going to sell it early, well, let's wait. Let's have it 10 years. And in the high case, we'll have it only 3 years. So we'll put different holding periods. Actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put entry. I'm going to use these as entry multiples, and let's have in the base case, let's say we're paying 7 times for our entry. In the low case, we're paying 10 times, and in the high case, we're paying 6 times. Okay, and the risk-free rate, that the higher risk-free rate is going to mean we get a higher premium. I don't know even which way it'll go. Let's put 3%. Let's make the low case 5%. This might be backwards. And the high case 2%. Okay? And the reason I changed the last thing, on the top we can put our holding period and put a equal sign and just go to our holding period. Just copy our little spin button. Now there's going to, in this case we can use the spin button because it's not part of this, and we have this exit multiple or this entry multiple. So let's just pretend right now that we make another button next to our entry multiple. Remember how you can do this. You can just take this and make it 5 and assume that that's thing. Now we will not be able to use these, excuse me, and we would not be able to use this one when we run the scenario analysis. You'll see this in a minute. So what we want to do is, next to these scenarios, make a little table that shows what our outputs are. First, you'll see why we need to do this in a minute. Actually, we can move both of them up. Let's make a blank one. Okay? And that's probably one of the bad things about the data table. Now, step 1 will be to use the index command down here, put equal index, and we need to also do the most crucial thing, which is enter a code number. Okay, that's the first thing. Using the code number, we create the index command, and then this index command, if we press number 2, for example, it will take the low case, 3 will take the high case, and then all of these numbers, the growth rate will come from this over here. The growth rate will come from down here. The exit multiple will come from here, and you can see why you can't do this. If you push this up or down, that changes it, and if we have a formula in here, it would overwrite the formula. So we cannot have both the spinner boxes and the scenario analysis in a basic data table. We'll show you how in a subsequent video how to solve that problem using the customized scenario. And then we're going to put 1, 2, 3 here and make a one-way data table. This will be a one-way data table, and it will print out all of the results. So that's making a data table and a data table and the index command together. So let's just do it. Equal index, and we shade these 3, and we click on the code number and press the F4 button. Okay. Shift right arrow, Control R. I don't know if my Shift Control R wasn't in here. Okay. And that's step number 2. Okay. This is our model driver. These things are what drives the model and where all the inputs come from. So let's go to our growth rate and put we're using the low case. So our entry multiple is this one. Our exit multiple is this one. And our risk-free rate comes from this. It always comes from this last line. I don't know. I must have changed it so it makes a blue one. Okay. And I'll even bold this. This is our driver. Okay, I don't need to restate it. Now, we've made these inputs all come from the other place. Now let's put the outputs, and the IRR is just here. In fact, if you want it to be a little fancy, you don't have to do this, but you can put equal transpose and select these. Okay, that's the same thing as just simply linking them. And I'm just changing the format a little. Okay, and now here's the last trick. You just put 1, 2, 3. Sometimes it comes up with a percentage. Now if you look at this, remember what this is. This is a one-way data table, not two-way. We have nothing in this blank box up here, and we just have one input variable and the rest are output variables. So you select this area. You don't do this. If you selected this, the whole thing would break. Only the numbers and that. And you go to data, and then what if analysis, and a data table. And this time, since a one-way data, you leave this blank. That's the horrible thing about a one-way data table. And this thing is the code number, which essentially just changes the scenario from code number 1 to code number 2 to code number 3. Okay, and they came out without a thing, with the automatic. So if you go to formulas now, do I have any other large files open? I don't have any other large files open. So I'm going to do something that can be dangerous. I'm changing it to automatic. So we have a 20% IRR in the base case. It goes all the way down to 6% in the low case. Same kind of variations in the other data, a much higher premium on a really low premium. And that's our scenario analysis. Index command, the code number was crucial. Now what you can do is you can press insert a new line, just press Shift and F11 and insert a new line, insert a new sheet. We can call this something fancy like a cockpit scenario or master scenario. Okay, and what we can do is we can take all of our data here and this time cut it, and if it doesn't work, I haven't really tried it like this before, we still have a data table. Now it all works because the data table runs off of this code number, and this code number is in this sheet. Okay, now you could, another thing, let's just make a couple of other little gimmicks. If you go to the developer and go to insert, you can put a little drop-down box that's very convenient to doing these kind of things, and go to format control, and the input range is going to be the base, low, and high, but we have to switch it back and forth, so we switch these things, and the cell link, another windscreen wiper item, and you press on this one. Okay, so, oops, it gives you 0 at first, but don't worry about that. And copy this, and now you can put it near your assumptions page. Okay, why don't we do two other things? It looks like we have some add-ins here. Okay, first thing is we better press Shift Control C, and that shows you what's really the input now and what's the output. Then the next thing we can do is why don't we go to this sheet? Why don't we make the master scenario sheet have a red tab color, and then go to our model sheet and just put the link the cell link to the tab color. Okay, and then you can see what it did is it shaded these as red because they came from the red sheet. And if you just want to, in your analysis, change this, you can do that. Another thing you can do with this kind of work, there's this scenario analysis thing in Excel, but that's horrible. It doesn't. You could never do any of these things and keep it completely flexible. Okay, and it's so simple. Once you get used to it, it works very quickly. And just some advertising. Okay, there's where you can go to get your delightful classes, and that's that.